Good morning. Welcome friends. This is a session on achievement motivation training and I welcome all the faculty to undergo this session. As you know that this session primarily is a session where we generally do an experiential learning method. However, I am trying my best to do it through a PowerPoint presentation, and I am sure you will like it, you will enjoy it, and you will get yourself involved. Now, currently we are living in an unprecedented time with unprecedented happening. COVID-19, a pandemic, is disrupting the global economy. Millions of workers in these countries are facing the bleak prospect of losing their jobs. This is an analysis done by the United Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Well, the same is in the case of India. Now, the job condition, we were never good, but they are worse. Pay cuts, layoffs are a daily news. So, we are actually going through a difficult time with multiple disturbing factors happening all around us. So, the question is, what do we do? Do we sink or do we sail? How do we continue sailing on the rough seas? Now, if you actually try to look at it, that different people in the situation, I am sure you are having your friends, your colleagues, your students, your family, your peer group. So, people are acting very differently, I am sure you are experiencing it. Well, some spend their time bemoaning their circumstances and blaming others for the situation that they are in, while others find opportunity in crisis. So, some are seeing it, some are owning it, some are solving it, and some are doing it. So, we do see these people, and these people are actually thriving. The pandemic has given birth to new industries and new career paths. I am sure you are reading about it, and I am sure you are all aware of it, and therefore, this is what is happening. Subsequently, you can watch a video for which I am sharing the connection. It is a film in on YouTube. Do watch it. If you have watched it, otherwise it is okay, but still you can continue to watch it, looking at the present context, that how the opportunities are emerging. Now, generally it is said that whenever people are in a society, there are the wealth creators. Some people are definitely creating wealth, and who are these people? They are the achievers, the innovators, and obviously the entrepreneurs. And therefore, what is that we are saying, that these wealth creators, can they be created or they just become a part of the society naturally? I would say yes. Why? Because it is based on nearly 15 years of research on a strictly academic psychologist into a human motive that appears to be largely responsible for economic growth. This is a line that I am quoting by David C. McClelland, which he wrote in his book called Achieving Society. It is also possible because it is based on an active experimentation in the district of Kakinada to begin with during early 60s in Andhra Pradesh, and subsequently after the research was conducted in Kakinada district. As you know, this study McClelland made that can we really create people who could be creators. And after that, piloting it in various regions of India, in Assam, in Jammu and Kashmir, in Gujarat, and of course in Maharashtra. And therefore, subsequently what is happening, that the whole issue of achievement motivation and linking it with the entrepreneurial development has been integrated into the development of training or teaching curriculum. And therefore, my friends, we are here today discussing the integration of entrepreneurial training in the context of achievement motivation. How could it be a part of a training curriculum? Now, generally when we are talking about entrepreneurship, since it is definitely a program for entrepreneurs, for innovators, according to the David C. McClelland, he researched and experimented to conclude that not external resource, that is the market, the minerals, the trade routes or factories, but the entrepreneurial spirit which exploits these resources, a spirit found often among businessmen. So, in fact, in this study he talked about the spirit that is an underlying factor to actually utilize the external resource. He further said in his study that the essential ingredient for entrepreneurial spirit and success with a high need for achievement, therefore, the need for achievement is a integral part of the entrepreneurial spirit, and therefore, it is important to understand how to inculcate a high need for achievement among people. So, therefore, this is the question, can we really inculcate the high need for achievement among people? Entrepreneurship is learnt through a meaningful intervention, and that such a learning can be encouraged fruitfully. You know, I am just trying to share with you the background research that happened before we are actually integrating it as a concept to be introduced in training and teaching young generation of this country. Well, entrepreneurship can be taught. So, therefore, the Edward D. Bono, he said beautifully that only bodies are born, entrepreneurs are made. So, it is possible to make entrepreneurs. And Peter Drucker, in his statement, he said, most of what you hear about entrepreneurship is all wrong. It is not magic. It is not mysterious and has nothing to do with the gene. So, it is not genetic, it is a discipline, and like any discipline it can be learned. So, I think at this point of time what I am just trying to share with you, my friends, that the work and the thought and the experimentation that happened, where we are actually saying that it is possible to create entrepreneurs, it is possible to integrate innovators mindset among the youngsters. Now, let us go ahead. What are the behavior of entrepreneurs? So, when we are actually looking at entrepreneurs, what are their behavior patterns? According to McClelland, entrepreneurs do things in a new and a better way. Second, make decisions under uncertainty, have a high need for achievement or high achievement orientation, which is defined as a drive, and drive to excel, to advance and to grow. Now, we are coming to this question that the how do we do? Since it is said that entrepreneurs are not born, entrepreneurs can be made, entrepreneurship can be learned. So, therefore, I am coming to this very basic issue, how do we do it? One, by inculcating entrepreneurial spirit. That is very crucial and important, even if people have knowledge, even have people have lot of information, even people have lot of resources, but the entrepreneurial spirit becomes the underlying factor. Second, by heightening the urge for excellence, because it is an inner drive, so one need to heighten the urge to strive for excellence. Third, by locating the available resources, one locates it or one otherwise try to make it available, the resources that are to be made available to the people around them. And not only locating, but also mobilizing the resource for an effective outcome. So, only locating resources are not enough, but how does one actually mobilize it? That is also a question that can solve the problem of the pursuit of journey towards entrepreneurship. Now, what and why of achievement motivation? Now, friends, this is a session on achievement motivation, and therefore, let me go to really understand why we are talking about achievement motivation. What is its importance in the whole entrepreneurial career, and what is the concept behind it? Now, if I actually go by the definition of achievement motivation, it is a constant desire, please mark the word constant desire, to attain success in a performance related situation with a standard of excellence. Now, it is not a desire just to do a task, it is not a desire to do a job, but it is a desire to do a job with some standard of excellence. Apart from that, it is a desire to attain success, not necessarily in the pursuit of attaining standard of excellence, everybody becomes successful. So, even if a person fails, so what? But the desire has to be there, and therefore, it is often said that failures are the pillars of success. So, in an achievement motivation context, both success and failure plays an important role, but a desire to attain success has to be there. The next, well, achievement motivation is not a substitute for knowledge. So, it is not a substitute for knowledge, it means that I have all the knowledge, therefore, I am achievement oriented. So, it may not be possible, it may be possible, but added to knowledge and opportunity. So, when a high achievement oriented people utilizes their knowledge and utilizes their ability to sense the opportunity that they come in the context of their pursuits. Third, it can make a real difference in an economic achievement. So, achievement motivation therefore is directly related to economic achievement, economic growth. In fact, coming back once again to McClelland, he wrote in his book that the rise and the fall of a nation depend upon its people and people's high need for achievement. So, it has got a direct relevance to economic achievement. Fourth, achievement motivation also means, well, empowering the self. In fact, it is so beautifully said that this achievement motivation also leads to empowering and enabling anyone to really strengthen oneself. It also means having a control over self. So, it is directly in relation with our own self. So, it is also a tonic for the self, it is also a kind of an approach where how do we really develop ourselves. Now, should we go ahead? Now, if I say that these are the why part, now let us go to the next, that if I am saying having a control over self or empowering also self, it also means one is enabling oneself. Now, what is this in simple words? What do we say by enabling? A strong sense of can do, it is possible, I can do it, that strong belief and determination that yes, I can do. A feeling of control over one's life. Now, it is so true in today's context. Do I have control over my life? What can I do in this situation? Do I totally depend on the external environment, external resources, or do I feel that I can control what is happening with me, I can control my own life? Apart from that, how do I am aware of my own strength and my own weakness? So, am I really in touch with my own abilities, what I can do, or am I in touch with my own weakness? Being aware of own values and attitudes. So, what are the value that I actually value most? What are my innermost mechanism and what is my tendencies to appreciate the values that I possess? Being clear about the goals and the purpose of life. What is the purpose? Why I am doing what I am doing? Is it there for a purpose? Am I really striving for the purpose? Being confident of ability to achieve these goals. So, am I confident? Do I think I have the ability to do it? In fact, believe me my friends, you know, this is perhaps the first time I am teaching through distance learning mode, and therefore, I have to also ask myself, can I do it? Is it possible? And all of you, I am sure, as teachers, everybody is trying to cope with this new, and therefore utilizing one's own ability to do it, enhancing one's own ability. So, it is also empowering oneself, and therefore every day, you know, perhaps it is a struggle when we start empowering ourselves. And most of all, leading an active and fulfilled life, one has to be active, one has to feel that it is fulfilled. So, therefore, how do I really pursue the journey? How do I say that each day is a new day, each event is a new event, and each event is an empowering event for myself? So, achievement orientation somewhere deep down also makes an individual enablers. Now, if I am saying achievement motivation, if I am talking about innovators, if I am also saying striving for excellence, so motivation for excellence, it comes from where? Now, if actually I start looking at why people do what they do, I mean, we do see people around us. You must have seen when you watch the video, you will find how people are doing things differently, how people are coming out. So, if we actually study why people do what they do, because human behavior is essentially purposeful and directed towards the attainment of a goal. So, no behavior is without a purpose. So, one actually have to understand that this behavior that we are actually exhibiting, it is purposeful and it is actually attaining towards certain goals. The purpose underlying goal directed behavior is often referred to as motive. So, what is the motive? Therefore, motive is the purpose. So, every action has a motive. So, we actually try to understand the motive behind our action. Motivation is the inner state and the readiness to act or to move. It is manifested as an urge, energy and force that drives people to act to satisfy various needs. So, motivation therefore, we say it can't be seen because it is the inner urge, and what we see is the action that the person undertakes. Let me take you through the whole process. So, motivation, because it is a process. So, it starts with actually, if you look at, it starts with the need or the desire or expectations, and whenever there is a need or an urge or an expectation, what does it do? It cannot make a person static. There is always a disequilibrium. Imagine that you have a certain expectations, you have certain desire, you cannot remain static. So, therefore, this state actually creates some kind of a disequilibrium, because this actually gets transferred into a driving force for action. If there is no disequilibrium, there will be no force for taking action. Now, this action is to do what? This action leads to achieve. To achieve what? To go towards the desired goal that one has stated. And therefore, if I have to kind of believe that I have to finish certain lecture in a given period of time, or some assignment or some project which is time bound, my whole energy gets focused onto that. And therefore, this desired goal, once it is achieved, what provides the sense of satisfaction. So, whenever we are reaching to the desired goal, there is a sense of fulfillment. We are reaching the goal. However, once we are fulfilled, it not stops there, it gives us a feedback. So, once the feedback comes, then a new kind of a need gets aroused, and therefore, motivation primarily is a continuous process. So, let me go through once again. The need gives rise to some kind of a disequilibrium, and it goes to a driving force to achieve certain goals, and that desired goal, which, why we are going to the desired goal? Because it provides fulfillment, and this fulfillment gives a certain kind of a feedback. So, we are constantly fulfilling some need or the other, some desire or the other, and some expectations on the other. Now, I am sure you know about this. This is Maslow's hierarchy of need. I thought that let me come back to really that what are these needs that we are actually going through continuously, and it starts with the basic needs, that is food, shelter, water are the basic needs. And now in fact, I would say that whenever we are going out now, I think the basic needs are also that kind of, that let me carry my own water and let me carry my own sanitizer. So, it changes. The basic need is the need for survival. So, the struggle around us is actually the surviving need. Now, the surviving needs gives rise to the next need, that is the need for security. So, the security needs are the needs which we look for, whether it is money, whether it is security, whether it is comfort, whether it is safety. So, these are all security needs. So, right now, apart from fulfilling our basic needs, we are also very concerned about our safety needs. Now, the next part in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the social needs, the needs which get satisfied through the society. The society gives rise and fulfills these needs. I will come in detail about the social needs in my next slides. Now, the next order need is the self esteem needs. So, self esteem needs are the need which is actually self respect, self dignity. So, self esteem needs are higher order of need. In fact, from self esteem to the self actualization, the highest order of need, that is the higher order, and self actualization is actually relate to spiritual needs, the needs which is beyond life. For example, we have seen many people meditating, maybe in the Himalayas, we do not even know who are they. For them maybe all other needs really do not matter, because they are perhaps trying to find the truth. And we know a lot of people in this category who have discovered and who are discovering variety of higher order of needs. So, what I mean to say that according to Maslow, he said all human beings actually fulfill all different kind of needs. But again it is a fact that these needs do not go one step and the other. It is not that unless and until you fulfill the lower order of needs, then only you can go to the higher. It is not like that. But he made it into a pyramid shape. I think what Maslow actually tried to say, that it is bottom heavy, because majority of the population are operating in the lower strata, very few of the population can go on the higher plane. So, therefore, these are the different needs that all of us are actually trying to fulfill. And for this we have motivation. So, in order to fulfill any of the need, we are motivated to do that. Now, what are the social needs? As I said, I will come back later. So, these social needs are the needs which is fulfilled by the society in large, society that which we are operating. There are the three major needs: the need for power, need for affiliation, and need for achievement. These are the three major needs on which most of us actually decide our actions. Like if you actually look at yourself, apart from your food, your leisure, your other activity, all action that we take either are fulfilling our need for power, or fulfilling our need for affiliation, or fulfilling our need for achievement. Motivation to satisfy these needs are often referred to as power, like those of us who are fulfilling most of the time our power needs, we are power motivated. If some people are most of the time are fulfilling their affiliative needs, they are affiliated motivated. And people who are most of the time fulfilling achievement needs, they are achievement motivated. And therefore, these motivations, power, affiliation and achievement also is directly related to the kind of work that we do, whether we are in politics, whether we are in teaching, whether we are a CEO of a company, whether we are entrepreneurs, whether we are innovators, whether we are in social service, whether we are caring. So, all these things actually directly get related to this. Motivation to excel is a part of achievement motivation. How does one excel in what they do? So, this is part of achievement motivation. Now, let me quickly go through that how do we see affiliative needs. These are emotional needs, need for relationship, need to belong, need to be cared, need to be loved and to give love, need to be liked. Now, these are all related to affiliation motivation. So, these are primarily our emotional needs. Now, need for power. Now, the need to influence others. For example, how do we influence others? By control, by convincing, by impressing, by dictating. Now, this is a need for power. Now, please remember the need for affiliation and need for power. In order to fulfill these needs, you need people. It cannot be done in isolation. So, therefore, the need for power and need for affiliation, you need a whole lot of people, and these two needs are people centered needs. Now, let us look at the next one, and the next one therefore is the need for achievement, for which we are. Now, this need for achievement is actually a little different than need for power or need for affiliation. Now, this need is a need which is directly related to work, to performance. Now, let me show you, and let me come here with the definition that therefore it says it is referred to as one's own desire for some standard of excellence in a performance related situation. So, it is me and my work, it is me and my task, it is me and my performance that matters. Now, therefore, this need for achievement can be fulfilled through the satisfaction that I derive from the work that I do, and therefore, this need for achievement is not people driven, it is mostly related to task driven. Now, there is one more motivation that is called extension motivation, and this extension motivation was subsequently researched. You know, when David McClellan worked on the three major needs, this extension motivation work was done mostly by, subsequently by Prayag Mehta and Uday Parekh. It is related to social entrepreneurship that we are mentioning. Now, what does it say? It is expression of need for others' achievement. When others achieve, I get a sense of satisfaction. For example, you are all teachers. So, when your students do brilliantly, you get a sense of satisfaction. When your children does something, then you get satisfied. When a coach feels that the team has played a game to win a match, the coach gets satisfaction. This is purely coming from extension motivation. And therefore, expressing the need for others to excel in performance. So, how does I feel that if others excel, I do get a satisfaction. In fact, the whole concept of social entrepreneurship is based on the extension motivation. Now, why we are talking about achievement motivation? What is the significance? First, as I said before, it is responsible for economic growth, the rise and the fall of a nation. So, it is directly related to economic growth or decline. So, right now it is actually testing time for many countries including India actually to create more achievers so that we can contribute to the GDP. Essential ingredient of entrepreneurship and leading to economic development. So, it is directly related to economic development. Third, it is one of the most important characteristics of the entrepreneur. So, it is said that all entrepreneurs are achievement motivated, and I would like to add, not necessarily all highly achievement motivated people are entrepreneurs. They can be teachers, they can be even housewives. Important contributing factors towards entrepreneurial activity, any entrepreneurial activity that needs to take place, this is the need to create a achieving environment. It is major factor also in assessing entrepreneurial awareness and supply in a social system. It is a psychological characteristic in nature and manipulative through appropriate training program. So, one can develop people as highly achievement motivated people. found to be significant even for successful managers, executives, CEOs, salesmen, etc. So, it is also not necessarily only for entrepreneurs, it is also for the people who work for some organization. I would like to include even teachers. Viewed as an intervention for organizational development. So, it is also an organizational development context. Now, you too are nation wealth builders, you are teachers, and your job therefore is to train and teach people. And therefore, how do I train? And you are kind of teaching all age, economic, cultural background, helping them to become innovators, helping them to become creators. And therefore, you are primarily helping people who would like to venture, who would like to take calculated risk, who are responsible for their own success and failure, who are constantly striving for growth and excellence, and therefore, they are contributing and maximizing to economic development. So, the next part, that is the critical part that I am coming after I have actually done the preambling. So, achievement motivation training is the process of developing entrepreneurial spirit. So, how do you do? So, let us get started. Now, suppose if I show you these two pictures, what do you think these people are doing? They are both dreaming, and therefore, the dreams are important. But the question next is that, is dreaming enough? No, one is that wishful thinking versus achievement goal. Seeing a dream is critical and important, but that dream has to be moved and has to be developed through action. And in fact, I would like to quote Daisaku Ikeda, one of the spiritual leader and a renowned philosopher and a Buddhist. He says, of course, you make no efforts in your dreams will amount to nothing, but sheer fantasy, effort and hard work construct and bridge that connects your dreams to reality. Those who make steady efforts are filled with hope, and hope in turn arises from steady efforts. Embrace your dreams and advance as far as they can carry you, unquote. Now, therefore, it is all about helping people to see dreams, helping to convert that dreams into reality. Now, the task of a trainer, the task of a teacher, what does the trainer and a teacher do? I have often said that in order to teach entrepreneurship, in order to teach achievement orientation to students, I myself have to be entrepreneurial in my thinking. I also have to be achievement oriented in my action. So, therefore, the task of a trainer is facilitating the students to convert their dreams into reality, and this is done through entrepreneurial motivation training, and achievement motivation training is a part of entrepreneurial motivation training, and therefore, your job is to create a magical transformative training program. I will share how this program is done. Now, the model for creating magical transformation is the entrepreneurial motivation lab. So, it is a lab, it's a full of experimentation and experimentation with oneself, where the program, where entrepreneurship is its focus, and it helps to tap the energized entrepreneurial potential to transform their vision into action. Now, what are the objectives of this motivation training program? Quickly, if I go through to appreciate the ingredients of success, how to become a winner, what does it mean to be winning, what does it mean to be in competition, to understand how to get onto the top, if I have to go to the top, what are the mantras, to be aware about the motivational dynamics and therefore which is conducive to entrepreneurial activities, to provide with opportunities to discover their self in relation to entrepreneurial activities. and helping participants to improve their achievements related to motivation and other entrepreneurial competency. So, it is not only motivation, it is also the competencies, and internalize the achievement motivation syndrome. And what are the broad contents that actually happens in this motivation training is actually focus on achievement motivation, self study, goal setting behavior, coping strategy, creativity, tolerance to ambiguity, and interpersonal support. In fact, the entire program or the lab goes through this contents area. Now, achievement motivation training, in a part of entrepreneurial motivation training, most of the methodologies that are used are projective and experiential in nature. And therefore, I would say that this program concept you can do through lecture, but this program gives you experience. You are learning while doing, and therefore, the program begins with a micro lab which is called an unfreezing session of familiarizing the group with each other through a different perspective, a projective technique, thematic apperception test, and who am I, both of them are projective techniques. Ring toss, achievement planning, tower building, creativity and broken square, they are all simulation methods and they are all experiential in nature. Now, let me tell you that these are very programs which has been tried and tested, and it is a very involving program where the group gets involved. Now, if I again go in detail, what are the methodology that are practiced in an EMT lab? It is unique and experimental in nature. It is both focused on content and process. So, both the thing run simultaneously, content driven and as well as process driven. The program touches the core of the individual, motivation, perception and his or her goal. So, it actually touches to the core of person's inside, and the person gets in touch with herself or himself. Through various behavioral exercise, AMT lab helps to identify and develop the values, attitudes, motivation and competencies of the entrepreneur. So, therefore, one of the question that this training program helps the student to say, locating the entrepreneur in me, locating the achieving person in me. So, it is more in touch with self vis-a-vis my real self in match with the ideal self. And how does it make operational? So, it runs through thoughts, through feelings, through action, and this action again gives rise to thought. So, it is cyclic in nature. So, you are actually creating a platform where the students are actually are thinking and then they are taking into action with their whole intensity of feeling and therefore getting a feedback and redefining. So, therefore, it is a process oriented training, very much related to a human process training. Now, this in short I would like to share with you that this is based on a model where it is said that generally when we develop students, we are actually developing their competencies. So, the last competency model, if you see the competency model, that competency is actually behavioral. So, this competency is actually because there are motivations inside and therefore, these motivations actually gives rise to attitude and inner core is the value. Now, if you look at the value, what are the entrepreneurial value that we are trying to inculcate? It is the innovation, it is the independence, it is the outstanding performance and respect for work. Now, these are the typical entrepreneurial value. So, when I am saying a value creating education, so therefore, it is these value that is what we are trying to incorporate. Why? Because these values will give rise to certain set of attitude. For example, to use imagination, to take moderate risk, to enjoy freedom of thought and action, to look for economic opportunities, to believe that they can change the environment, to look at the holistic or the satisfaction from competition they are competing, and to involve in work, to analyze the situation and take. So, this set of values gives rise to this set of attitudes, and these attitudes, which is a tendency to act, gives a driving force, and driving force are the motivation. So, therefore, the entrepreneurial motivation training helps students to locate their motivation, their attitude and to their value system, because subsequently when they start, when they acquire certain skill sets, they are developing competency. Let me tell you, my friends, giving skills, developing competency is easier, but the most challenging part, that how do we inculcate the right kind of values and develop the attitudes and the motivation, and therefore you need to have a different kind of a methodology altogether. Now, the role of a trainer therefore is crucial and critical. So, therefore, it is motivating the trainee, igniting and stroking such a passionate desire or a need or an urge in your trainee to achieve their goal. So, it is kind of, I would say, a, a constant role of a motivator, of a mentor, of a partner. You are helping the students to actually go through it, and therefore, entrepreneur who makes useful offering to the society. That the flame of their passionate urge to achieve cannot be extinguished by any wind or any storm or any tsunami. So, if therefore somebody is motivated, somebody is energized to do something, nothing can stop them. So, I think the role of a trainer is very critical here and very different here, and therefore, here the trainer or a teacher is actually doing a journey with the student in actually rediscovering himself or herself. I think this is a small word, and therefore motivation is the word from where I will skip this. Now, what is the sculpting of an entrepreneur, and therefore the sculpture is helping the person looking at self, presenting the self, and therefore until the individual has an opportunity to reveal the way he sees things and does things, he has little basis for improvement, for change. So, this is actually how does one make improvement. So, reflection, thinking, looking at oneself through one's eye, and therefore through the self presentation, trainer discovers different people with different levels in the context of goal clarity, in the context of their inner intensity to urge to reach to that goal, and the strategy of reaching towards the goal. What is the strategy that they need to take? There could be people, no goals, aimless, so therefore they are unaware, they are of their potential in a box, and they think they are no good, they just cannot do anything, and therefore the underconfident ones, to whatever reason, they will not move to set goals at all, actions are a far cry. So, we do get this kind of students. Some who are unclear about their goals and desire. So, clarity of purpose, setting goals, making it clear, like the Arjuna's looking at that bird, and the left eye of the bird he had to eat. So, clarity of goal and the clarity of purpose. But there are some who have dreams but missing in action, and therefore it reminds me of Mungeri Lal ke Haseen Sapne, if some of you have seen this film. So there are people who only dream and dream and dream, but they don't take any action, and therefore the lamp of desire to achieve is easily extinguished. So one job of a trainer is to lighten that lamp, which is not getting light enough to really transform their dreams into reality. Some have dreams, but their actions need direction and reinforcement. So, as I said, there are 5 category of students, uh, participants that you may get, and they will be at very different level, and our job is to really help them to locate and take them into a desired direction. So, therefore, a trainer will know if the goals meet the standard of entrepreneurial goal in terms of concern for a unique achievement, wanting to do something unique, need to excel the standard already set by others, need to excel in the previous record, that means competing with oneself. One is competing with others, the second one is competing with self, and urge to achieve a long term goal. These are the 4 criteria what we say actually defines achievement motivation. Strength to urge to achieve, and therefore it says हम छोड़ेंगे नहीं जब तक टूटेंगे, जब तक नहीं टूटेंगे तो हम तब तक ही चलेंगे. You know, it is the story of Majhi, the mountain man. If you have read about him, this man actually really made a road in a difficult terrain in an hilly area, and therefore he became an example of and the creator of easy transport services in the village. The urge to achieve could be consistent and persistent. So, one has the desire which could be consistent and which could persist. So, both are important. So, there is no one fit for all strategy. So, different people have different strategy. So, therefore, I am saying that these few category of people, they need to be ignited in a different form, and therefore one is they are unaware of their potential. So, awaken them to unlimited potential, help them to see their potential. If those who are awakened but not taking an action, help them to take action. If there are those who have moved into action but is not strong enough to really persist, and help them to time to take it forward. And therefore, remember, this entrepreneurship motivation training is a person centered training. However, this Josh has to be made with hosh, and therefore one therefore needs to help them to look at goal setting, risk taking, and helping them to take a moderated risk in their journey. Now, the important and the critical part before takeoff is the planning part, and in the achievement motivation training, planning plays a very important role, and therefore it involves several steps. Let us study what are these steps. These steps are having belief and a faith. So, step 1, setting off challenging goal with clarity. Goal has to be clear, has to be absolutely clear, and therefore what is the faith? The faith is challenging and clarity of goals enhances commitment and stands for half the work done. If I have a goal and I have a faith, I think I give my 100% into it. Step 2, anticipate the conditions under which it is likely to fail or to succeed. So, this is anticipation, like we say anticipatory planning. So, anticipate in advance, it may fail or it may succeed, you know. The moment we take risk, there is always this situation. So, therefore, what is the faith? Every action has a possibility to fail or to succeed. Have that faith. Number 3, listing the activities needed to be organized to achieve the goal. What is the faith? All achievement come through action or success in the fruits of our action and efforts. So, everything, every achievement comes through an action, and every action can give us results. Step 4, anticipate the likely barrier to each action. So, whenever we are taking, there might be problems. There cannot be an action without problem, and therefore faith is every action meets opposite force of friction, blocks are natural and should be dealt with positivity. So, everything I have to be very clear. If I anticipate that I might fail, I should also see my problems in advance. Like for example, a simple example, going to the airport, of course rarely we are doing these days, but I know there is traffic and therefore I will plan accordingly. Step 5, analyze and location of blocks or a barrier. So, whenever we are seeing the block, it could be two kinds, internal as well as external. The BP is the personal block and the environment is the BW, and therefore, these are the short forms that are used to help the students to understand. It is used in TAT, thematic apperception test. So, the blocks has to be understood, is it internal or is it external, and therefore, the faith is barriers may exist either in person or in the environment or in both. Step 6, locating and mobilizing resource to overcome barriers, and I have to locate help, I have to mobilize resources which is external, and therefore faith is if block events, there must be some source of help somewhere to overcome the barriers. Seeking help is a great art, and entrepreneurship means that I must know what are the resources around me. Step 7, modification of previously planned action, new resources. Faith is flexibility, change in strategy and a must for success for growth. If one is not working, can I be flexible? Can I look at other steps? Step 8, review and redesigning planned strategy. So, the faith is future in between taken as a feedback to redesign future success or a strategy. So, therefore, I have to be redesigning ready that whatever I have decided it may not work. So, I need to work on it. Step 9, enjoy and celebrate the success with eye on improvement. So, there is a saying that success is never the end. So, therefore, you can enjoy the success, but at the same time there is always a scope for improvement, and therefore, it is often said and highly achievement motivated people are never satisfied. So, this is the important thing. Now, when we are doing this training program, we are encouraging the participants with a new behavior. For example, helping them in overcoming the gap between the real self and the ideal self, and therefore encouraging continuously to experiment, to explore and growing through learning and ability to take feedback and learn from the feedback. Now, internalizing achievement motivation is critical, and this is based on a syndrome. I will show you the model of the syndrome. What is syndrome? Therefore, the syndrome are the symptoms exhibited by highly achievement motivated persons. This is exhibited through their thoughts, feelings and action. These steps are in a training strengthen their behavioral pattern to achieve an entrepreneurial goal and help participants to internalize the achievement motivation syndrome. Now, if you look at this model actually makes it very clear that once the goal is very clear and once somebody takes an action, this action may overcome. So, the need gets aroused and the anticipations and feelings are there, and one can take an alternative action to reach the goal, because goal has to be reached, and in a person there is a strong desire, there is an anticipation, and therefore there is a plan for an action. So, once the person takes an action, the person may look at the two blocks, the worldly blocks and the personal blocks. But when the blocks come, the person may be able to take the help. In fact, this is the syndrome model, and the entire motivation training is based on this model. Therefore, raise many magnificent entrepreneurs to AMT, and therefore, you have the privilege. I feel we are all privileged to engage in nation building activity and raising many magnificent entrepreneurs, many stars, Tare Zami Pe, through conducting the most inspiring and life transforming laboratories. And therefore, my question to you all as teachers, as a trainer, it actually starts with us. As a trainer, who am I? What are my goals and my aspirations? Why I am in this profession? And what do I want to achieve for myself? I think the question must begin from here. And therefore, we need to practice the pause. Pause is what? To reflect, to reboot and reinvent yourself. So while you are doing achievement motivation training in an entrepreneurship development program or working students, I think we are also working with ourselves, and therefore we keep on reflecting, rebooting and reinvesting yourself. And therefore, let us get started with reflecting on, and I am giving you a simple activity which you can do at the end of my lecture. I would say write a paragraph on who am I. Please try it, because unfortunately we are not able to do any experiential method, but I can do a projective method. So relax and close your eyes for 5 minutes. Think about yourself. Write your own story, your goal, your strength and your weakness. Your dreams, your aspirations, achievements, struggles of the past, present and future. You may choose whatever aspect you think are relevant. Write about 200 words on how you see yourself. Take 10 minutes time to write. So just time it. Be spontaneous and write whatever you think is significant about yourself. So I would suggest at the end of the class, why don't you try to do this? It will be very enjoyable, I am sure. So after writing, just write, what was your experience? How does it make you feel? Did you feel good? Did you feel happy? Or did you feel just okay? Or did you feel sad? So score your Who Am I essay, the dimensions on which will be given to you maybe through a separate mail. And therefore, the post class activity is simple. What do I do to have to reinvent myself? So once you get the score, you also have to think what changes I think I can bring about me, because believe me that it is me who is going to bring about change, and it is me who have a great job to do. It is beyond my teaching the content, it is involving with the students to show them a new path. And therefore, I would like to close by saying, achieving starts with believing in yourself and in others. Thank you very much.